Hey guys, it's Mallory, and I'm going to be doing something a little bit different today. I am going to be doing a quick beginner's tutorial on Risk. This was inspired by my mom. Hello, Cindy. You better be watching this. She's been watching all my videos because she is a precious angel. And she also downloaded the Risk app and has been starting to play this game a little bit, which I think is really, really fun. But she's had some questions, and I'm realizing that as I've been making these videos, if you are brand new to this game, you may not understand all of the things I'm doing. So we'll just start right here. Um, this is where you're plopped in when you first enter the game. This is you, this is your character. If you click on this, you can see what your rank is. I'm currently at the expert position. Risk also has a lot of these little helpful question mark bubbles. So you start as a novice and then you move into beginner, intermediate. I'm currently at this expert level. I have been a master a few times, can't hold on to it. And then grandmaster are the best of the best players. Um, I think I saw online that you hit grandmaster when you are somewhere in like the 5,000 rank. So like the 5,000 best players of the game. You can also see your stats. Uh-oh. Ooh, this is getting dicey here. I've played this game for 241 hours. Some of that has been online, that's against other people. I've won 70 of those games and I've lost 183. You can also play with friends. I'll talk a little bit about that. This auto match category is new-ish. I don't remember seeing this until a couple weeks ago, but it's not doing anything yet. So this might be a new feature because you guys know I play a ton of auto match. Pass and play, we'll talk about what that is. Single player, I have played a lot of single player games. This is against computers only. It's when it's you playing against a bunch of bots, and then scenarios, as well as some of these kind of stats of like troops defeated, troops lost, the cards that you're earning, win streak, lose streak, etc. So um, we'll also go into the settings because what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to turn on pretty much all of these so that you have a chance to see what all of these do. And then we'll come back in here and we will make some suggestions on the ones that you should turn off. I use a colorblind setting. This is obviously not something you have to do. I do like these colors a lot, and there are a few different options if you are colorblind. This is obviously very, very, very helpful for you. So, single player, this is what we were talking about with playing against bots, play a computer or a tutorial. Pass and play is between 2 and 6 players on one device. And so, where I think pass and play can be really fun or really helpful is I like to go to a lot of amusement parks, and when you are waiting in line, it's very boring. You could pull up Risk on your phone and then play Risk against the friends you're with in line, just passing around one person's cell phone. Play Friends online is similar, but you would be playing each other on your own device. When you do play friends, you one of you can set up a game, give a code to the other people you're playing. They will put that code in, and then you're all in the same game together. And then global domination is obviously where we normally go, which is where you are going online to play other real people that you do not know. I also recommend each day that you're coming into the app, coming to the shop and getting your 2 free gems. And it makes a nice little satisfying noise. I love that noise. These can be used to purchase things in game, such as the little emotes, which I'm hoping to get more of these because some of them are really fun. This one is really fun.
This is fine. This is fine.
I would love to get this one day. I just think it's funny, or you can buy maps or other things. So you get 2 free gems every day. I highly recommend you get those every time you log into the game. Up here is the coins. Now I have premium. I paid for risk so that I did not have to wait for my tokens to refill. So that's why you see like the little infinity symbol on mine, but you might see a number here. Over time, your tokens do come back, or I think you can even watch ads to get more tokens. But I became too addicted to this game to wait around for my tokens to refill, so I just went ahead and purchased it. So I am going to just go right into this first tutorial, World Domination. And I'm going to explain a couple of things about the game so that people can feel a little bit more comfortable about what they're doing. Also, you do not need tokens for the tutorial, so I think that's really cool that you can kind of practice these tutorials as much as you feel like you need to in order to start to feel like you understand the game. So this is just learning the basics. This is rated as a very easy scenario, and all you're trying to do is defeat these other opponents. Oh, this is cute. Welcome. Map controls. You can zoom in, you can drag out. Every turn has three phases, so this is important. The whole purpose of Risk, and if you're not familiar, Risk is a physical board game. For the kids watching, board games are something that old people used to play before we had computers. So I first started playing Risk on an actual physical board, and I think when you're playing on the computer, you are sometimes missing some of the elements of this game if you weren't already familiar with it. So each turn that you have has three phases. Draft, or I have always called it deploy, is when you get troops that you can place on the board anywhere you want. The amount of troops you get depends on a few different factors. So every single person is going to get 3 troops per turn. That's the minimum amount of troops that you will be getting. You will also get troops for whatever continents that you hold down, and you can turn in cards to also get troops. And we'll talk about all of those things. So it's telling me, so I got 17 troops because I am this pink or red player. And it looks like behind here you can see that this person has Asia, Australia, 25 territories. So if you count all of that up, that's 17. So I think it's wanting me to kind of pop it here. And you can also decide how many troops you want to put in different places. So if I just want to put, say, make this a 10, I'm going to put 6 troops down, click this little button, and now I still have 11 troops that I can put in any of my areas to do whatever I want. So in the draft phase, there you can put troops wherever you want. You can do 1 troop on each little territory if you want. And so that's another thing I wanted to talk about is territories and continents. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. One of the settings that I have turned on is that when you zoom in, it will show you what the territory is called. So these individual little guys, Congo, North Africa, Western Europe, Middle East, India, that is called a territory. So that is the smallest amount of land that you can occupy on the board. And then continents are the bigger, it's multiple territories together. And so if you come over here to this little, I guess it looks like a little bar graph. Let me show you what these settings do. So first, this top one, as you get cards in the game, those cards are going to have the name of a territory on them. If you turn this setting on, it will highlight in a little striped pattern as well as a little card icon that this is, it looks like I have 2 cards right now. That's what these little numbers are. Light blue has no cards, dark blue has 1 card. I have 2. So I have this card here and I have this card here. That's what this setting does. This one that's a little picture of a guy turns on this where this little black thing pops out. This is how many troops I have, 76, and this is how many territories I own, 25. Light blue has 19 troops and 9 territories. Dark blue has 17 troops and 8 territories. Based on what I'm seeing here, we are in the end game. This tutorial basically plops you into the end game. It looks like in this situation, we've been playing a while, and I am about to absolutely destroy these two other players right now on this turn. So this is plopping you kind of into an end game. This picture of the globe, if you turn that on, you can see what the continents are on whatever map you're playing and what they're worth. There are tons of maps in this game. You guys have only seen me play with this what we call the classic map. There are hundreds of maps though. So if you're ever playing a map that you're really unfamiliar with, one of the first things you're gonna want to come and do is take a look at what are the continents, what are the bonuses. So you'll see that classic map has North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia. North America and Europe are worth +5 troops. So if you own either of these continents at the start of your turn, you will get 5 more troops than you would have. South America and Australia are +2. Africa is +3. Asia is +7. Asia being so big is also why you rarely ever see somebody hold Asia. 7 troops is a lot, and so most people are not just going to let you get away with holding down Asia because you're going to be getting a ton of troops from it. So I'll turn that off. Um, Yeah, and he's telling me since I have Australia, if I start my next turn, I am going to end up with troops there. So that's territory and continents. Troops is how many, risk is a game of war. So this is how many troops do you have kind of at your disposal to go conquer other places. And then let's just finish doing the deploy phase. So now you move into the second part of your turn, which is attack. The whole purpose of the game, when you're playing the classic scenario, is to conquer the world. Now, that is not to say that there aren't other ways to play this game. One of the very neat things about playing this version of Risk is there are actually a few different types of games that you can play. Uh, I will maybe make some videos in the future that go over some of those other types. But when you're just doing the classic kind of world domination, you win by having no other blue on this board. That's how I, as the pink player, am going to win. So you want to use your troops to attack other people. Every turn that and oh, I'm sorry, I forgot because I turned this on. Um, you have to click this next phase button. Again, that is one of the options that we'll talk about. So now you go to the attack phase. This is where you would click on any of your territories that have troops. You need to have at least 2 troops to attack. You cannot attack with 1 troop. And you'll see that some of these are highlighted and some of these aren't. I cannot attack from Afghanistan, and the reason is Afghanistan does not touch any of my opponent's territories. So this 4 cannot be used to attack out. Um, this 3, this 3, this 3, none of that is touching my opponent's territory. You can only attack from a territory that is up against right next to. So if I click on this 13, it's going to show me, okay, it's going to show me the 3 places that I can attack from this Northern Europe position. Northern Europe could also attack Ukraine or Scandinavia, but those are already mine. So I'm not going to attack myself, right? So I can attack out these directions from this 13. All you have to do is click on where you want to attack from, click on where you want to attack to, And then this is one of the computer animations that I turned on as well of now you can see kind of what's happening here. Each turn, the attacker can attack with one, two, or three troops. And in real life, what that looks like is rolling dice. So in the actual board game of Risk, you roll dice, and as the attacker, you can roll one, two, or three dice, so long as you have at least that many troops. So if you want to roll with three dice, you need to have at least four troops in that territory because one troop always has to stay behind. You can't abandon a territory. You have to leave at least one behind. So the game has something called balance splits, and that's where by clicking the dice, by clicking the dice, by taking this turn as a balance, it's gonna roll all of those dice at once. So let's say that I have 50 troops and I am attacking 30 troops. In real life in the game, that means having to roll the dice multiple times. Blitz just means this 50 is going to go against that 30 and it's just going to do that calculation for you. It's going to use the algorithm of the dice roll to determine what happens between that 50 and that 30 and it's not going to make you roll over and over and over. But that is how the real board game works. You can control that. And my mom actually called me last night because she couldn't figure this out. There's these little arrows. So this is, I'm going to roll three dice against two dice. So the defender can roll one or two dice to defend. That's up to them. You should always use the most amount of dice at your disposal. That just gives you better odds. If I wanted to just attack with two dice, I could do two against two. Or I could even be very saucy. I don't know why anyone would do this. And I'll just roll one dice against his two. Um, and then let's see what happens. I'm just going to do one. And we're going to see what happens when my opponent gets to roll two dice. I'm just going to roll one. And you're going to see how this works is you kind of put your dice in order of like highest to lowest. Their highest goes against your highest, their second highest goes against your second highest, and who's ever winning that dice roll is the person who has won. So you'll see here that he rolled a 5 and that 5 beat my, I think it was a 2. So let me do 3 dice. So he still has 2 troops in this territory. I have 11. So let's roll 3 dice and you'll see how much better those odds become. 6 and 4. So I won that one. And now I get to decide how many troops I want to move from this position that I just attacked from into this territory that I now own because I won that. And I'm going to do what's called a split. I am going to move only 6 of my troops in. I'll leave 6 behind. That's called a split. What you more frequently see is somebody moving all of their troops into the new territory, leaving just a 1 behind. But if you want to do a split, you can do that and you can split it any which way you want. So I'm going to do 6 and 6. Now, in the attack phase of your turn, you can attack as many times as you want. When you are playing online, you do have a turn timer that is running across the top of your screen. So you do need to be aware that in online games, your turns are being timed. That timer depends on what kind of game you're playing. It's something that is set by the person hosting the game. I believe in the auto matches, it's a 90-second turn timer. I might be wrong about that. It might be 2 minutes. But the auto matches have a fairly long turn timer. But you do need to just be aware as online, you can't be farting around, right? You need to get going. But you are allowed to attack as many times as you want during the attack phase of your turn. once you are done attacking, so I'm going to end attack phase here, and it's going to come up and say, do you want to continue to the fortify phase? Again, this is a setting. This is the one thing that I do have turned on because I have accidentally moved to next phases before I was ready. I do a lot of misclicks, so this is a setting that you can turn on. The last part of your turn is called Fortify. Fortify is when you can take troops from any one territory and move them to another territory as long as those territories are connected somehow. You will see here this 10 that I have over here in North America. I cannot fortify anything to it because it is not connected to anything else. It is a lonely territory on its own. So that is why this one is kind of grayed out and it's not an option for me to fortify. But I could move, let's say, like this 3 here, and then I can move it anywhere I want as long as it's connected in some way. So I can move this 3, and let's say I'm going to move it back down here so that I can kind of hold down Australia a little bit. So you just click the place you want to move from and the place you want to move to. And then again, you'll have a little slider and you can move one troop, all of your troops, whatever you prefer. You get to do that one and only one time each turn though. So fortify is a very, very important part of your turn because that is how you start to kind of get your troops where you need them. Fortify is probably one of the most important parts of your turn, especially in that early and mid game, so that you can position yourself accordingly on the board. Another thing that my mom was asking me about was you keep talking about cards. What are cards? So every time you take a turn, you want to try, unless it's a very specific situation, and I will make a video talking about some of these situations, you want to try to take at least one territory in your turn. Because if you take even one territory in your turn, you get what's called a territory card. In the game, these are physical cards that you would like hold in your hand. And so I think that's why in the game it's a little bit confusing to call them cards. So that is why it's really important to take at least one territory. You will sometimes hear people say in the game, I'm just going to get my take. Or sometimes they'll say things like, I'm just going to take a card. What people mean by that is, I'm going to attack this territory, but I'm not doing it because it has any kind of like strategic advantage to me. I'm doing it simply because I want a card this turn and this is my best place to get it. So that's something that you will hear people say often is I'm just going to get my take, or I'm just going to take a card this turn and then pass. All that means is they're attacking one territory, usually something that's maybe just like a one troop territory so that you're not losing too much, just to get that card. And then during your draft phase of your turn, and now the computers are going to go, during your draft phase of your turn, you'll take a look at your cards. If you get either a 3 match, meaning like 3 of the infantry, 3 of the cavalry, or 3 of the, oh, what are cannons called? Artillery, I think. So it's like little army vans, pictures of horses, or cannons. A 3 match gets you something, or if you get one of each of those, that's usually referred to as the big trade, because you get even more. So when it gets to my turn, I'm guessing I'm going to have cards here, and we can take a look at what my cards are. Um, Okay, thanks, little guy. He was very nice. He was very helpful. So we're gonna take a look at my cards here, and you will see that I have what's referred to as the big trade. It is one of each of them, and that means that it's worth 10. Four or three of these guys, the infantry, that's worth four extra troops. Three of these guys, the horses, cavalry, that's worth six. And three cannons or artillery is worth eight. Big trade is worth 10, and that's when you have one of all three. You can only have five cards at a time. Once you hit five cards in your hand at the start of a turn, you have no choice but to trade in. So a lot of people will take a look at what their card situation is. What you want is the big trade. So people will often wait until they're forced to trade in just to try to get the best match possible. But remember that at five, you are then forced to trade in no matter what you might have. You can't keep trying to get a better match. You'll also notice that there is a territory listed on each of the cards. If you occupy this territory, so you'll see Egypt and Japan are both pink. I am occupying both of these territories. You will see this little +2 up here. It means you get two more troops in that territory. So this big trade is not just worth 10, it is actually worth 12. And then you can decide. So I've got Egypt and Japan here. You don't get a +2 on both. So I can decide, do I want to get the +2 on Japan or do I want to get the +2 on Egypt? And the way you tell the game that is by um, taking the card out of the set and moving it behind the other. So I'm gonna get it here in Egypt because that's the one that's first. If I wanted Japan though, I would just take Egypt out and put it behind Japan. So that's how you will if you want to decide which one. Egypt is the better one. So I'm going to trade in now, and that means I'm getting 12 more troops here during my turn on top of all of the other troops that I got for um, occupying all of these territories, occupying all of these continents. You'll also hear me talk often about the magic number 12. Um, like I said, everybody gets at least three troops per turn, minimum. Once you start to have 12 or more territories, you start getting extra troops for every three territories you occupy. So, what that means is I'm in 26 territories. You guys are about to see me do math at 8 a.m. on a Sunday. This is going to be something special. So, I get an extra troop for having 12, 15, 18, 21, 24 territories. So that's five or six extra troops. I've already lost count. Please don't judge me. But suffice to say, once you hit that 12 number of territories, you start to get one extra troop for every three territories you occupy. So if you're in that, 18 range, you're now getting three extra troops over what you would have gotten. So you really need to keep your eye on that in very competitive games to make sure that you are not leaving people with too many territories because then they are start to really, really outproduce you. So again, um, draft or what I've always called this deploy. Attack, fortify, those are the three stages. The only thing that we can't talk about is alliances. Alliances are available when you're playing other people only. Um, you would click on their little icon and you can ask to make an alliance. Once you're in an alliance, there are some extra things that you can say privately to one another. Um, I don't, yeah, and in the online function, you have like little good game, well played, like little sayings, and that goes to all the players. But when you're in an alliance, you can talk specifically just to that person, and you can do thumbs up, thumbs down, heart icon, and you can ask them to attack specific other players, including yourself. So when we do an online game, maybe I will talk a little bit more about alliances. And like I said, we are now in the end game. That's where this tutorial plops you in. The end game is important. That means the game is coming to an end, the winner is about to be decided, and what you should be focusing on in the end game is taking as much territory as you can, breaking your opponent's continents, and trying to wear them down. So, what the two blue colors here need to do if they want to win this game is they need to start trying to um, break into Asia, break into Australia. I am going to win this game if they can't break my continent. It looks like maybe we got to a point in this game where they had already run out of steam, so to speak. I'm getting 27 troops this turn, so I am going to win. I'm just going to put everything right here on the Northwest Territory. You can hit next phase. And then we are going to just attack all of these territories. Again, if you are playing online, you can use your enter button to go a little bit faster, but we do have our computer animations turned on, and we will talk about how to turn those off. Again, I had clicked these little arrows to change the settings. Blitz is highly recommended. There are only a few times when you want to do what we call a slow roll. So this is when you are not using the blitz option, when you are rolling individual dice. There are times that call for that. So if you hear the term slow roll or slow rolling, what they're talking about is they're talking about rolling individual dice. However, blitz is the far better option 99% of the time that you're going to be using. There's also this little slider down here. Again, that's just more advanced. Maybe when I'm actually in a real online game, I can show what that slider does and when you might want to use it. But suffice to say, for beginners, you don't need to worry about the slider, and you will be using blitz most of the time. So we're just gonna go through here. And these computer animations are why some people play so slowly. So I highly recommend turning off these computer animations where it turns sideways like this and kind of shows you what's happening. But for this tutorial, I wanted to turn it on because I just think it becomes a lot more clear what's happening with the dice, what's happening with the troops, and you get a better visual of what's happening each time you're attacking. And then I'm just going to leave 3 behind. I'm going to do a split, and I'm going to come back around this way. One of the things I would recommend as a beginner is get really comfortable with one specific map. And that map doesn't have to be classic, but once you become really, really familiar with a map and you start to understand its layout, how each territory connects to the ones around it, what things are worth, where the continent borders are. So that's something that I would highly recommend. Ooh, and I just took out one of my opponents. When you kill an opponent, you get their card. So I just took that guy out, and now his card belongs to me. That's another thing that you really need to pay attention to is when you're holding a ton of cards, you start to be a target, especially in that early game. If you don't get an early trade when you've got 3 cards and you have to wait until you have 4 or even 5, if you start getting really, really weak on the board, your opponents are going to start eyeing you and be like, I would love to take out somebody with, 12 troops and get their 5 cards. So that's something to be really, really aware of. Not only to save yourself, but also to start looking at opponents that you might be able to take out and really profit off of taking them out because you get their cards. But I would highly recommend, as a beginner, getting very comfortable with one specific map. That will really help you in your strategy, in learning how to win, and in understanding the game is to get really, really comfortable in one map. So I hope that this was helpful to people, more people than just my mom. But this tutorial is available. It's very helpful, and as you see, a little guide comes up and kind of helps explain some of this too. So I hope that was fun for you guys. I want as many people as possible playing Risk, having fun with Risk. And then I'm going to go back into these settings and I'm going to turn a few of these off. So I am going to turn off camera animations. If you're going to turn off one setting, it should be this one. Turn off your camera animations. And then I'm going to come back with another kind of like a part two of this where I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the risk terms you might hear so that if you're watching my videos or other really good grandmasters videos or if you're watching them stream, you can start to follow along a little bit easier on some of the risk terms that you might be hearing these players say. So thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you next time.